Welcome to Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation possible. You will get to hear from CSIA system integrators and industry partners to get a better understanding of how they help their clients solve process challenges and how they've earned success in their careers. Along the way, we will touch on system integration best practices, technology, trends, and challenges. Whether you are a manufacturer, end user, supplier, or system integrator, you will enjoy the insights these industry professionals bring to this podcast. Let's get started. Hi, my name is Lisa Richter, the host of Talking Industrial Automation, a podcast where you get to know the people who make modern industrial automation and processing possible. In today's episode, we're talking industrial automation with Dr. Axel Zein, who serves as CEO and President of WSCAD, a global provider of AI-powered electrical CAD solutions used by more than 40,000 engineers worldwide. Under Axel's leadership, WSCAD has become a pioneer in AI-driven electrical engineering, launching the world's first AI-powered electrical CAD system in 2024. His background expands enterprise technology, having worked at IBM before turning his focus to AI-native solutions for the engineering world. In addition, Axel is a frequent speaker at industry events where he talks candidly about how companies can move beyond the hype around artificial intelligence and into real, measurable productivity gains. These days, his work sits at the intersection of software, AI, and industrial engineering, helping organizations understand what it means to build an AI-native product and what that shift demands from teams, processes, and company culture. Axel, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so everybody's talking about AI. AI, everywhere you go. It's like the old McDonald's song, right? What are companies still getting wrong?
So I think the biggest misconception is that AI is primarily about chatbots and productivity assistants. Most companies still approach AI as an add-on. They basically add a chatbot to a 25-year-old workflow, and then they declare the AI revolution complete. It's not. The bigger question is, what happens when workflows themselves, so processes, fundamentally change? In engineering, if you look at that, we're still working with paradigms that are decades old because engineers conceptualize the product in their head, and then they manually create documentation, manually connect information, validate requirements, they transfer logic or knowledge between systems. And this process has been left untouched for the last decades, but AI is what I believe fundamentally changes that. So the real opportunity is not in helping engineers draw faster. The real opportunity is fundamentally changing how engineering itself is created.
So we're talking, I've heard this term AI native engineering. What does that actually mean?
So today as an engineer, as a CAD user, we are essentially drawing the product that we've created in our head. And, you have sophisticated 3D mechanical CAD systems that enable all sorts of analysis before you actually build the product. And that's cool. And you can draw faster with AI, but AI native engineering changes that model. So instead of the engineer manually defining every detail in the engineering process, they now define intent, they define constraints, they define requirements, objectives, and the AI system just generates and orchestrates large parts of the engineering process. And that's a very different architecture because while for decades we've been helping engineers to draw faster, now we're actually helping them do the real engineering. So CAD, as we traditionally know it today, CAD systems will probably become the execution layer, while AI becomes the decision layer. And that's what we mean by AI native engineering.
Got it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about engineering workflows. And what are your predictions about what are most likely to change over the next 5 years?
I think AI is very good at taking over repetitive and documentation-heavy parts, like generating bill of material, generating internal diagrams, interpreting requirements that could come from another department or from your customer. cross-referencing, numbering, validation, error checking. These are typical examples where AI can really boost productivity. And it's surprising that engineering today is still highly sophisticated copy paste management. Many engineers today spend enormous amounts of time not actually engineering, but managing complexity. And AI is very good at reducing that complexity. So workflows will become more automated, more system driven, and much more knowledge centric, and not so much I have to perform a specific functionality in the system.
So everybody's worried that AI is going to take their jobs. And what's your prediction for engineers? Is AI going to replace engineers?
I don't think so. I don't think engineers are going to disappear. I think that some of the work nobody's enjoying doing late evenings before a deadline probably will disappear, which is good. Um, but I absolutely believe that the engineering role will change significantly. And if we look back historically, every major technological leap changed the role of the people involved rather than eliminating them. Probably future engineers will look back at some of the current workflows and the way we look at manually drafting with ink pens. Because in the future, I'm sure they will spend less time drawing and more time deciding. So defining systems, validating outcomes, orchestrating automation. So I think engineers will not disappear. I think they will, in fact, be upgraded. And I have an analogy from a similar job transformation. If you look at horse carriage and coachmen who were driving them, and then they've been largely replaced by trains and the conductor of the train, which is an entirely different job. Yeah, most coachmen are left jobless, but we've added more jobs in one single train than we ever had on a coach, and we have more trains than we ever had coaches. So I think this is a similar development that we'll see in engineering.
Guys, real quick, I want to talk about the CSIA Industrial Automation Exchange. If you need to find a system integrator or supplier for a project, this is where you should start. You can search by industry, specialty, territory, certifications, then compare companies side by side. It's a great way to streamline and jumpstart your search. Now, if you are an SI or a vendor, this is also good for you. Why? Because search has gotten weird. AI generated answers, zero-click results. A lot of people are getting their answers and moving on without ever landing on your website. That means you need to show up where your buyers are. And that is exactly what a industry-specific directory like the Exchange does for you. Look, I admit that no one really knows how to get into AI search results, or even frankly, if it will matter long-term or short-term. But I do know that preliminary research suggests that industry directories and review platforms are more likely to be cited by AI tools. Even by traditional search standards, the Exchange stands up like a champ. So go check it out at www.csiexchange.com. Then see if it makes sense for you. See you on the interwebs. What challenges are industrial companies facing right now?
I think the number one challenge is complexity, because as far as we see it, every industrial company today seems to want more customization, shorter delivery times, more documentation. And guess what? We have fewer engineers because experienced engineers are retiring. And of course, we want lower costs, ideally all by next Tuesday. And on top of that, everything is becoming more interconnected. So machines, software, compliance, cybersecurity, and all of that. So many companies are reaching a structural limit with traditional engineering approaches. And that's why I think AI is becoming strategically important. Not because it's fashionable. Yes, it is fashionable. And, the media is all about the AI hype. But the current engineering model, if you want, the workflow is under pressure and difficult to scale. We did last year we did a survey, and we surveyed over 1,200 electrical engineers from over 40 countries. And 54% of these engineers do not have time for innovation. They're swamped. So they're under pressure with finishing the project on time, on budget. but that's not a healthy way to go forward.
Let's talk specifically about system integrators and what AI means for them.
Actually, I think system integrators are in a very strong position because they sit close to real operational problems. And the challenge is that margins are under pressure while complexity continues to rise. But AI can become a force multiplier: faster engineering, faster documentation, fewer repetitive tasks, reuse of knowledge. And the key here is practical implementation. So, being a system integrator and sitting at the operational edge, I think these companies will win because it's not necessarily the companies with the vaster AI tools that are going to win. I think the winners will be companies that integrate AI into updated engineering workflows. If you look at engineering, or updated processes, if you look at whatever parts of the company you're looking at.
So let's talk about that a little bit more. What do you think separates companies that are successfully adopting AI from those that are struggling a little bit?
I think it's two issues: leadership and culture.
Mm.
Because technical problems are often easier than the human problems. CPUs and GPUs are sometimes less stubborn than organizations. And honestly, this is what we've experienced 3 years ago when we started on this AI journey. The technical barrier is often smaller than people think. The real issue is organizational behavior, the willingness to experiment, the tolerance for change, the speed of decision making, and whether leadership actually creates an environment where people can adapt. If you treat AI as an IT topic, oh, it's the next tool that we're introducing, um, that's really shortcomings. It's an operational transformation topic.
I think what's interesting about this, like engineers, sweeping generalizations here, is that on one hand, they're really interested in technology and learning new things, and let's open that up and see how it works. But then the other hand, they're kind of risk adverse. So trying something new or upsetting the apple cart, we're all like that, right? If we got a system and it's working, why change it? Why change it? But this is what always fascinates me about this audience, is that tension between those two driving forces is super, super interesting. Let me ask you a question. Don't get mad. How many people in your life truly understand what it is that you do? I'm willing to guess the answer is not too many. I get it. So many of us toil in anonymity. But what if I told you that I have a place where you can go to meet and talk and commiserate with people who do understand what you do because they do the same thing? Amazing. I know. But that's really the bottom line what CSIA is all about. One way to get started finding your people is with CSIA's learning and networking opportunities called special interest groups. These groups are aligned around topics such as emerging leaders or marketing and meet virtually throughout the year and in person as well during the CSIA conference. We will be bringing more online throughout the year, but for now, if either of those topics sound interesting, go to www.controlsys.org/events to check out what we've got lined up. Full disclosure, you do need to be a member of CSIA to join the marketing SIG, but the Emerging Leaders one is open to anyone who wants to give it a try. So why not take a minute and check out the upcoming schedule at www.controlsys.org/events. Who knows, maybe there are some other online events that strike your fancy as well. Hope to see you there. So, WSCAD was the first electrical CAD vendor to bring AI into production. What do you think was the smartest decision your company has made recently?
I think it was starting early. So ChatGPT came out, I think, in November 2022. And in 23, the adoption curve rose very fast. And this is when we saw huge opportunity for our domain, which is electrical engineering. Um, but the results internally were much more valuable than having a software which is AI powered, because we started to build internal competence early. We had the organizational fights between people wanting to move forward with AI and those being very conservative and saying, around here, we've always done it this way. um, and and to some extent, we all have both parts in us as human beings. On one hand, we like the comfort zone, and on one hand, we like to experiment if the challenge is interesting enough. And I think we really learn how to work with AI internally. And this cultural shift matters enormously because it takes time. So starting early pays off.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest challenge facing the automation industry in the future?
Again, I think it's not technology. I think it's
Mm.
adaptation speed. Technology is evolving extremely fast. And if you look at the AI industry, especially, this is change management at the speed of light.
Mhm.
But organizations, they're slow in adapting. And companies now, if they really want to use AI, they have to rethink workflows, they have to rethink responsibilities, they have to rethink engineering processes, leadership models, and sometimes even business models. So I think the winning companies will most likely be the ones that combine engineering depth, software capability, and organizational agility,
Yeah.
which is the latter is probably the most difficult one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's gonna accelerate the brain drain or the gray drain or whatever that terminology is where people are gonna retire because I think sometimes you get to an age, just like, "I'm gonna tap out. I can't be learning this whole new thing. I'm just gonna sit on my beach and, watch my garden grow," or whatever, so, yeah. So let's talk about this term or this phrase, "AI is not the advantage." What do you think that means?
I think what we're seeing today already is that AI is in itself, it's becoming accessible to everyone. So
Mhm.
the real advantage is not using AI, but how effectively as a company you can apply it within your domain. Um, in engineering, domain expertise matters enormously because obviously you have some flexibility when you engineer systems, but there are certain guidelines, rules, and norms that you have to adhere to. So the winners won't simply have AI. They will understand workflows, customer pain points, industrial requirements, and how to operationalize AI safely and productively. And that takes time. And that's
Yeah.
much harder than just adding a chatbot to your support.
Yeah, for sure. What should industrial companies realistically expect from AI over the next few years?
I think realistically, we companies can expect productivity improvements, but not magic. We sometimes have this
Mm.
box with all the possible wishes and we'll label it AI, you'll be disappointed. It's not a replacement for operational excellence. Bad processes with AI are still bad processes.
Mhm.
So I think companies that clean up workflows, structure knowledge, standardize on new processes, and embrace AI pragmatically can absolutely achieve major gains in
Mhm.
speed, in quality, in consistency, and most of all, in scalability. Because AI is really a segue to scale.
Mm. So, switching topics a little bit, let's talk about why your company and you decided to become involved with CSA.
So I think system integrators are incredibly important to industrial transformation because they're often the closest to the actual operational realities inside industrial companies. And we believe AI adoption in industrial automation will happen through practical implementation and not theoretical discussions. CSIA brings together organizations that are actively building the future of industrial systems, and that makes it a very valuable ecosystem.
5 years from now, what will distinguish companies that have embraced IA early from those who maybe wait a little longer?
I believe the gap will not primarily be technology. It will probably be organizational learning, as I described. Companies need time to adapt to the new realities. So, companies adopting AI early are actually starting to build internal know how, operational experience, cultural adaptability. And that's not just a fancy word, it's actually hugely important. AI enabled workflows. I think the most dangerous sentence today would be, oh, let's wait a few years and let's see
Mm.
what happens with AI, because that compounds over time. And probably 5 years from now, the biggest difference will be between companies that learned how to evolve while others waited for certainty. And historically, certainty usually arrives too late.
So, one final question. What advice would you give your younger self just getting started?
Oh, be bolder, dare more, take bets, don't listen too much to possible obstacles, worries that others might see in your way. You'll face them soon enough. I don't think that anyone has ever regretted trying something and failing. Probably most people regret not having tried early enough. So that's my point.
Well, that's it for today's episode of Talking Industrial Automation. If you're interested in learning more about Axel or WSCAD, you can find them on the CSIA Industrial Automation Exchange at www.csiaexchange.com. Thanks for listening, and thank you, Axel, for joining me today. If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also really help the show by leaving a review and sharing with colleagues. We're all just slaves to the logarithm now, so I gotta ask. Thanks for listening to the Talking Industrial Automation podcast. Thanks also to bensound.com and Wistia for the music bumpers. Until next time.